right. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. Welcome back to the North Central Washington MVP interview series. It's brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. Today's jam-packed interview with SkillSource Wenatchee is just another in our series with some of Career Connected Learning's most valuable partners. So mark your calendars. We've got a few more after this, and we'll be here Wednesdays at 12:15 again. A win today looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the services provided by these community partners and how they might help you, your students, and or their families. So I'd like to introduce now today's guests. We have Lee Hendrickson, training consultant with SkillSource Wenatchee, and we also have Susan Adams, center manager of SkillSource Wenatchee. Lee and I just met yesterday, but I feel like we could be fast friends. And I actually met Susan a few years back cycling with a local women's group, and that may or may not have involved candy cigarettes and a little 70s disco music. But we could talk about that at another show. So Lee and Susan day hiked the Enchantments, which if you don't know what the Enchantments are, it's a hike that's just under 20 miles. It's about 6,000 foot elevation gain, and it can take anywhere from about 8 to 12 hours, depending on how much sightseeing you do, and of course, how fast you are. However, I heard that in a recent outing, it included snow and exiting the hike with headlamps. So I've done that a couple times. I've done the Enchantments hikes a few times, and it's no joke in good weather. So I think there might be more to that story than I think now too, that Lee and I are good buddies. I might get more.
I always just feel I want people to get the most out of their experience. And so if the trip doesn't include headlamps, snow, a couple of injuries, what's the point?
All right. I knew it. I knew I was going to get more details on that. So, yeah. All right, everybody. Well, grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for your extra dose of professional nutrition. Here we go. Lee and Susan, you guys ready to kick this off?
We are now. It helps me to know the audience a little bit. Can you put in the chat or something your location and organization? Susan and I have conversations with so many partners, either in education or business or training, and I can't keep track of who we're talking to half the time. So if you at least put in the chat who you are, where you're from, that would be great. Okay. Well, you guys are fast. You're a fast type. Susan, they are way faster typers than me. Okay. Oh, Quincy, Freda, great.
Well, I know Nicole's a former business education teacher because we go way back. So her fingers are lightning.
Okay, so
lightning fast.
Yeah, no little secret messages or texting back and forth. That would be great. People was like, oh, we're definitely. I got the Eastern Washington thing. Well, good news. Although Susan and I are stationed in Wenatchee, we are part of a 5-county area: Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Adams, Okanagan. So everything that we know and that we do and we talk about virtually is offered in all 5 counties. Pretty interchangeably. So you'll hear me talking about stuff and I might make a reference to Wenatchee. Understand it also applies Moses Lake, Okanagan, wherever you are. Susan, did I say that correctly? Yep, getting them.
Yes.
Okay, good, got it.
The head nod.
All right, great. Great. So is the first question you're kind of wanting to know about SkillSource's mission, just kind of in general? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if you could tell us a little bit about SkillSource's mission and some of the programs that are offered, that'd be terrific.
Okay, so when you think of SkillSource, from your perspective, you should think in maybe 3 levels. We have a lot of services directly to youth to see them be successful. We have services to adults to help them be successful. And we have services for business. In our mind, we're always looking to help people get to reach self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency includes employment, good employment. So whether they're a youth or an adult, whether they're looking just to finish a high school diploma or GED, or whether they're coming here because they want to be a truck driver, we know ultimately our goal is to get them connected with the resources it's going to take. So at some point, we've all worked ourselves out of a job. That is our goal, get them so connected and so successful, they never need us again. And they pass that on to their kids and train others. I always say that's my goal, is to work myself out of a job. Haven't been successful yet, but that's what we're going for. You can break those 3 areas down to 2 things. There's people who need education. Maybe they need a GED or high school diploma, or they need some school-based training for employment. They got to go to nursing school. The other half is we're helping people with training while they're on the job, getting them connected with the job or getting trained for that job or training while they're on the job. So the big thing in general, either job seekers or businesses also come to us. That's our other customer. They'll come to us and say, hey, I need to hire someone. Hey, I need to get somebody trained. Hey, I can't find anybody that wants to go to work in 2021. Have you guys talked to any businesses lately? Have you heard their frustration?
Yes.
Yeah. We just finished a class on helping people prepare for job interviews. And I say, you may walk into a business that says, we've been looking for people for 1.5 years. What have you been doing the last 1.5 years? And people need to be prepared to answer that question. So most of the people we are working with can say, hey, I've been involved in training. I've been improving myself. And so that's a good sell. So more specifically, Susan, am I going too fast? Have I hit the highlights at the right speed? I'm looking at Susan on screen, but she can't tell that. So all right.
I think you're doing great.
You're
Okay.
doing great.
All right.
Yep, you started high. Now you're going to
Start
dive
big,
on
come
in.
low. All right.
Yep.
Well, Lee, you want to dial it in a little bit? You know, there are so many different, services that are provided within each of those programs. You kind of want to speak a little bit more specifically about each one?
I will. Let me talk first about, there's like, what are those clubs where you have those clubs where you can be in the pyramid and you have your choice of how much you participate or how much money you make. We have 4 levels that people can choose to participate. The first level, every SkillSource has to offer, whether it's at Moses Lake, in Okanagan, with us or WAC, is what we call an ACE workshop. We have this workshop that we offer anybody on the planet can come to this. If they're an adult, and we spend 3 days with them, help them figure out what are they interested in, what are their skills, what are their strengths, what kind of job would be a good fit for them, and then what would it take to get that job? Do they need to go to school? Do they need to do on-the-job training? What do they need to do? We cram all that into 3 days. What's amazing to me is how many people tell me at the end of that, they say, why the heck didn't we do this in high school? Why doesn't somebody else offer this? Why didn't I do this? People, we get busy, we get out of school, we get into life, and we take whatever jobs we can, and we often never take the time to think about what's the best fit for me. We do it because we know people are more successful in jobs that are a good fit. They're more likely to stay in that job. They're more likely to progress. That's what's best for the employer. It's what's best for them. It's what's best for the community. So we don't do it just because we're cool. We do it because we know that is what's best for everybody involved, is making a career choice that's the best one for them. We also do some resume and interviewing practice. It's funny. People who are really good at having a job and haven't changed careers a lot, they are terrible at interviewing. They've been so good. They've always just picked up a job, got on to the next job. They don't know how to market themselves. You ask a customer, well, tell me why should we hire you? And we get horrific answers. And then they wonder why the employers aren't hiring them. So we spend a lot of time helping people. Okay, what is the answer? What should I be bragging about? How do I put that into words? If you're working with youth, Susan, I think should we talk about the educational part? I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll talk about that next. I'm not going to talk about our youth workshops. I'll talk about that when we talk about education. So the first level workshops, absolutely anybody can come to. We can help them figure it out. Second thing that SkillSource,
and I'm just going to clarify, Lee, the ACE workshop, 18 and over. If you have a high school diploma or GED, 18 and over. If you are 21 and under and do not have a high school diploma or GED, you would be following. Lee's going to be talking about our youth program. We have contracted programs with the school district and Wenatchee Valley College. That's going to be the route. We have a separate workshop for youth 21 and under, no high school diploma, no GED. Adults over 21 that do not have a high school diploma or GED would be the ACE workshop, the one that he just spoke
the one we're talking about. Yeah. We have some great connections there, some great resources. There's so many alternatives to getting your education now. It is spectacular. I'm impressed with what's available to people depending upon their learning style or their life situation. So here in-house in Wenatchee, we have some classrooms. We have what we call a basic skills classroom, where that's split into 2 levels. We have adults that are pursuing their high school diploma. We have a teacher from Wenatchee Valley College that comes here and helps them work individually with that. And then we have a huge classroom for our youth, and this is what Susan was talking about. And our students are doing one of those two things. They're either studying so that they can go and pass the GED tests. There's 4 of those, and they are formidable. Or they are doing credit catch up. They're studying what they need to get the credits that they're shy on, so they can then apply them back to the school they left and get their high school diploma. Our classroom typically is full of people intermixed working on both. Some are doing their GED, some are doing high school credits. Nobody knows what anybody else is doing. Nobody else cares. They're working at their own pace. It's individualized instruction. There's never a time where there's just a teacher talking and you have that look on your face like Rochelle has right now. And they're just bored and unplugged. They are actually engaged and they're making things happen. Students that are motivated, yes, Karen.
Can I interrupt and ask a question? For the
Yes.
students who are there and working on, say, catch-up credits, can that be simultaneous with them while they're actually still in high school?
I'll let Susan answer that very detailed question.
Yes, that's a great question. It can be if students are doing credit retrieval and they're already being counted enrolled in another school district, then they do have to pay. And they usually are coming in the evening. It's those students, our learning center upstairs for youth 21 and under, we're re-engaging kids that traditional school has not worked for them. We have learning centers here in Wenatchee. We have one in Othello and we have one in Omak. All of them, the Open Doors program, which is a re-engagement program, really has 3 different pathways. We can work with students on that high school diploma GED. It may be that we're working with them on workplace skills because that's the next step for them as well. Or it may be a combo of those. In those learning centers, we also have the local districts providing special ed, bilingual migrant, homeless. So we have access to the services of which Wenatchee School District provides for our students.
Okay, great.
If
Yeah,
you're
sorry
working-
to interrupt you on that.
No, these are great questions. If you're working with any student that isn't succeeding in traditional school for whatever reason, get them connected, have them ask the questions. This may be the ticket.
And I think this is the time to say for that program, every Thursday, 3:30, without a veil, we have an orientation that individuals can attend. And sometimes they may have a counselor that comes with them. They may be in foster care. They may come on their own. Their parents may come. They will get all the paperwork and be explained how they would enroll in our classroom. We do have also an alternative learning program for 15-year-olds. In that case, we're typically working with the school district. We don't accept a 15-year-old unless the school district has said, you know what, we have tried all options and we need to try to work with you with this student. So that's a really small program, like 10 or less students.
Okay.
Susan, I think as long as we're talking about the services to youth, we ought to round out this topic. In addition to helping them get GEDs or diplomas, we are really into seeing them get work experience. I always tell them, I'm glad you're here to get your GED diploma. Nobody's going to pay you for that. You're going to have to at some point, and this is shocking, I'll say at some point, you're going to turn 18 with a diploma and whoever you're living with is going to expect you to go have a job and take care of yourself. They look shocked often. But we try to get them work experiences. We have paid ones. They can go and work at a partner's office for a couple months, get paid to do that, gain those experiences. We have group projects. We load them in a van. We take them into the wilderness and work for DNR or the state and do projects like that. Anything we can do to get them experience. What we tell them is that coming out of high school, things have changed. When I came out of high school, I'd already had 5 jobs. My resume looked pretty impressive. I meet 18-year-olds now that look at me and they go, well, I'm only 18. I've never had a job. Can't wrap my head around it. We make sure they've had an experience. We build a resume and the references they have. I mean, they're working with people out of the DNR or the state or WSU Cooperative Extension. They can have some pretty decent references down and they're only 18 just coming out of here. So Yeah, GED diploma, good. Glad you're doing it. Now let's get
And
you some work
I
skills.
just want to mention, to add on to that, those are additional federal dollars that are coming to us to specifically work with youth and fund them to get work experience and work readiness. We have multiple funding streams. The Workforce Innovation Act, we work Career Connect Washington, we receive funding through them, and also with DVR. So we work with students. We have year-round and summer programs for youth, and the only way, the way they qualify is that they've had an IEP or disability, and that is to get them work readiness and work experience. So multiple funding streams to help youth get work readiness, work experience. Because as Lee said, our goal is with youth is to get them their high school credential, but really beyond that, employment and or post-secondary. We're really, those are our goals.
It is. And it has been, I don't know what it's been like for you guys, but it has been a challenge. As near as I can tell, during the pandemic, about 80% of youth went home and disconnected, and getting them to reconnect and get going on anything has been a bit of a challenge. I guess I don't know what experiences you're having, but we're gonna be fighting this for a few years, I think, as we get people re-engaged and taking ownership for their lives. That is our number one message. Whatever it is you want, it's going to be your problem to make it happen, and you gotta take ownership and make this happen. And if we can get them to get a grip on that, I feel like we've really done something. So
on that note, Lee, I'm interrupting you again, but I'm thinking about, so these students that potentially are no longer engaged, and you're saying, you know, we need to roll them back in and get them in the workforce. How can we go about maybe reaching out and helping, you know, besides, you know, an interview like this that we're going to post and you know, share out, how can we go about helping you know, get those students?
Is kidnapping them from their homes off the table? Is that not?
Not sure.
Here's where I'm always asking, when I ask people who are being successful, I've asked the youth and I ask the adults. I say, okay, I lay it out for them. 70% of your peers are not engaging, or what did it take? And they always tell me two things. One, it's just a given. Well, this is my life. I got to make this happen. They already have had the revelation that they got to do something. I'm like, great. How am I supposed to impart that to the other 70 million that are disconnected? You're not helping me any. The other thing they tell me is they have someone in their life that cared and encouraged them. Two things: if they've had the revelation that they want a life and they know it's theirs, and they have somebody that's encouraging them. So anything you can do to inspire, anytime you can have a conversation with a young person and get them talking about what's the life that they want, get them to see that they cannot get that life without that GED or diploma is going to be the first step. Whether you're trying to fill out a job application, whether you're trying to go to college, it's always the first thing. Employers are evaluating you. Employers are going to be swamped with a glut of people that don't have a GED or diploma, and they're going to use it as a screening tool. Well, if you can't even get the GED or diploma, we're not even going to interview you. They're going to be getting screened out of opportunity from day one. Have that conversation with them. Talk about what their dreams are. Help them see the connection between making that first step of graduating and getting on to the life they want. If you've got any other suggestions, let us
Lee,
know.
I'm just going to jump in there. I think some of the technical part of that, Carrie, would be if we have individuals working for school districts right now and they know there are youth that are at risk of dropping out, or they are not attending, and they're wondering what can be a next step.
Yep.
We love to work with local counselors. We're willing to come in and educate your staff about the option here. Now, we're about that. All the other options have been exhausted within that school district, because a lot of school districts have multiple programs to try to keep students engaged. But a lot of times just, you know, working on, there's so many other barriers. And frankly, a lot of times we get those students in our learning center and we're not even working on education. We're working on how do we get them meals? How do we sign them up for food stamps? Where are they living? Right. So and that's part of Open Doors. Case management is a big piece of what we do with youth when we re-engage them.
Excellent.
So working with school districts, if they'd like us to come in, chat with them, let them know about our program, if they'd like to give me a call. So we really try to, just have people understand where we are, what our program offers, and what kind of student we're looking at working with.
This is
Thank you.
perfect. We're actually, because we can't get out to the industry partners as much for tours and whatnot, we have a guest speaker series happening in multiple school districts. So I think I'll be calling you as soon as we're done with this, because I think that might be a great option. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I'm looking at the clock, so I will try to get this, at least this question wrapped up. So, so when you think of SkillSource, if you think of services to youth, we're all about seeing them finish that GED or the diploma, helping them get some job skills, getting them connected with getting on with their life. That's what we're doing for youth. For adults, can be very similar. What kind of career do they want, and what do they need? Do they need some school-based training? And what funding source can we get them connected with? We have funds to help pay for training, but we know we're not the only partner. I think you guys have heard from OIC. Oh, OIC, I was making things look so easy. Yeah, anyway, they're a close partner with us, and no rivalry there. Okay, yeah, they do a great job. We will partner with anybody. If a customer qualifies with OIC and us, that means those funds put together, we can probably get them there. We can get them through a truck driving school. We can get them through a nursing program. So we love partnering with the other agencies, DVR, whoever. We all know each other. We have each other on speed dial. We work together every chance we can. So maybe the adult you're working with needs dollars for some kind of vocational training to get the license or certificate that's going to get them working. We help with that. We help organize it, help plan it, help pick the one, get them connected and fund it. The other big thing we do, the on-the-job training. If you're working with adults that need training, but they can't have time and they can't afford to go to school, they just need to be working. If there's an employer willing to train them, they can get hired, be an employee, and we'll pay that employer back half their wages the first couple months they're working. I don't know how many businesses you talk to, but most new employees cost them money for a long time. And I'm telling you, businesses have had it rough the last couple of years. Any of them that are still in business have a good attitude and are hiring people, thank them. Just thank them for fighting the good fight and making it all go around, because this has been rough. So we tell them, look, we can help, we will fund it. We will help with the training if they need some additional training, we can. I love going to businesses. If a business needs hey, I need an hour-long training on teamwork or something, I love going and doing that with businesses, help them get their office together. And again, speaking to businesses, that's the other thing we're offering. We can go to a business and say, can we help you find the right employee? Can we help train the employees that you got? Can we help offset the cost of you training that new employee that typically costs you money for the first few months to 2 years? And so businesses, they want to hear that as well. And we get so focused on the individuals and training and education, but none of this would mean anything if there weren't businesses hiring people and making the world go round. It would all mean nothing without them. So I really value them, and I try to honor them whenever I can and get people connected with them.
And Lee, I just want to add on because those of you working in agencies or of businesses, the other thing we have is called Incumbent Worker Training. So we have funds to train employees that are already working within your organization. Anywhere from we've worked with the city of Wenatchee to send people to CDL school, to going into hotels where we've provided customer service training. There is some match with employers and a few other nuances to the contract, but we are able to provide that training to incumbent workers as well.
So, again, what's best for business turns out it's what's best for the community and what's best for the individual. So we try to keep that in mind. Most of us are, kind of the touchy-feely, goody two-shoe types, and we get focused on the individual. But it's really important that we remember what's the big picture, what's the community need, what do businesses need, because that's what makes it go around anyway. Well, that took us a while to answer one question.
No, that's great. It's really good information. And I think it's actually a perfect segue when we talk about kind of that touchy-feely. I always like to include in this, interview series or podcast, however you want to label it, you're working so often with so many different people. And a lot of times there's that one person that kind of stands out and kind of, holds a space in your heart. And I like to share that story because I feel like that's something that connects with our listeners. So I'm wondering, do you have anybody like that you could kind of share with us?
I have a few that stand out. I can't help it. I always think about Angelica. So I got to paint the picture for you. A lot of times we're dealing with people who maybe got laid off and they're stereotypical Carhartt jacket, kicking back, like worked in the same job for 30 years and is annoyed that they're here and wondering what we got for them. And they're mad at the world and everything else. Angelica, I'm interviewing practice with Angelica. I said, Angelica, what are your short and long-term goals? Here's what she said. And she wasn't bragging. She was just being very honest. She says, well, I moved to this country 4 years ago. I didn't know English. And so I had to go to the college and I had to learn enough English to get my GED. I was doing that while working 3 jobs. She mentioned who the employers were, raising my two-year-old son, who was 2 at the time, is like 7 now. And she's like, I just bought my first car and I'm really looking forward to buying my first house. And everybody in the room just went, when Columbia Valley Community Health called and said, hey, do you have somebody that's bilingual and a real go-getter? I said, oh, you bet. I know who to connect you with. Yes. They hired her up. We didn't know JT. Later, I again ran into her. She has since gone on and while working, did the prereqs for nursing, got into the nursing program, passed the nursing program, and is now working as a nurse. Yes. I say that because it isn't us. All we did was offer, we have some funding for some training and we can make you connections. But it was absolutely her drive, living the American dream and embracing it and taking ownership and taking advantage of it that made all the difference. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And as I would say, there are so many resources. When I start laying it out, there's dozens of ways to fund training, get connected, that we can get a person connected to. They just have to want to do it. Anybody who wants to can absolutely do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Part of the guest speaker series that I mentioned earlier, what we're hearing, back as feedback from the students is, wow, I can't believe, she was able to do all of that by the time she was 24, or wow, I didn't know that was a possibility for somebody like me. Representative Ybarra came in and spoke to some students and they're like, wait a minute, you grew up here, you went to Quincy. And so it's that's terrific. I appreciate, thank you for sharing that, and way to go, Angelica. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
I'll pass on the applause. I see her at, we both work out at the same place every once in a while. So I get to tell her, I was bragging about you today.
That's awesome. I feel like maybe she should lead you on the next Enchantment's Hike.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I wouldn't want to have to follow her. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this is normally, where I ask about, what can we do for you? How can we, help? But if there are any needs or anything, that SkillSource has, how would you respond for that question?
I'm sure Susan has the professional answer. I have the one I'm thinking of. Send us people.
Yes.
12 years ago, the recession hits. We were packed. Workshops day and night, 50 people at a time. Right now, the entire economy shuts down and we are like crickets. We've only recently, this last couple of weeks, we've had 2 full workshops. It's been very exciting to see people coming back. Send people, let them know. They say, I don't know what I should be doing. Do I need training? I don't know how to go back to work. I'm gonna sit at home for a year and a half. I don't know what to do. Send them to the nearest SkillSource. Send them through the ACE workshop. And they will get motivated. They'll get some ideas. They'll get some connections. ACE is extremely motivating and empowering. Send them to that stinking workshop. I don't care who they are. Send them. Did I make my point? Send them.
You can do that.
And so where do we send them? Every Thursday, 1:30, we have an orientation for adults. That's 18 and over that have their GED or high school diploma. 3:30 on Thursdays for youth. Of course, they can call us anytime, and youth is 21 and under without a GED or high school diploma.
And that's here in Wenatchee. Moses Lake, oh boy, Susan, I used to know the exact date and time of theirs when I was doing my big project. Moses Lake has an orientation very similar, always at the same time at the one-stop office, and so does up in OMAC. Yep, they have it too.
Yeah, so our listeners can probably find that on their Facebook or their website. Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, we are right at that 12:45 mark. So first of all, again, it was total jam-packed. That was so much great information. Thank you both very much. I feel like we might need an episode 2 so we can hear more about the hike and get more information.
Yes, that'd be great. Hear about the other adventures. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you both very much. Lee and Susan, I appreciate you coming in, everybody for joining us. Go out and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hosting. Great to see everyone.
Bye.